Thank you.
Yes, yep, I got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Check, check.
Nicole,
Sorry about.
I need that. This must be for,
Okay, we are
Chris.
streaming. Yeah.
Are we unmuted? Yes, okay.
Connie Anderson.
All right, we're going to invite Connie Anderson to join us up here.
Thank you.
All right, welcome. Welcome to those joining us in person, and also welcome to hopefully the many that are listening in, joining us online. Today is Tuesday, December 1st, 2020. Let's start by saying who is here, starting with Connie.
which Connie?
You on the end.
Oh, okay, Connie Anderson.
Chris Wynn.
Nicole McDermott.
Martin Bates, Superintendent.
Connie Burgess.
Terry Bodden.
Todd Zenger.
Karen Winder, Board President. Once again, welcome. We're grateful to have you join us for this evening. We're going to begin with a Pledge of Allegiance offered by Chris Griffiths. Nope,
It's kind of a joint.
nope, we're not. Just a minute.
Yes, no, we are. We are. But it's a joint pledge reverence. So
So I'm going to have him come up and explain that.
Okay. Yes, please. Step right in. And that microphone, don't be shy. Pull it down right to
I
your.
won't be shy.
There you go.
First of all, I'm Chris Griffiths, principal of Granite Park Junior High. It is my favorite school I've ever been in. I've only been in there for a short time, but I absolutely love that place. I want to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to talk about my school and highlight some of the great things that we are doing at Granite Park. Now, this pledge is going to be a little bit different. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to show you the actual announcement or an example of an announcement that we show every morning to all of our students. Now, what's unique about these announcements is we do start with the pledge every morning. And these announcements are pretty much 100% created by our students. Now, they have a great teacher who's kind of built their capacity, and I don't want to tell anybody his name because I don't want him stolen from my school. But in all honesty, his name is Will Pettit, and he does an amazing job. So with these announcements, we're going to go through the pledge first. So when the pledge is shown, I would ask that everybody please stand up and say the pledge with my students from here. And then after that, we're going to have a short announcement about where we show things that are going on in our classroom. And we're going to highlight a great teacher who is doing some experiments in his classroom, even though we're trying to maintain social distancing. But it just shows that our kids are being exposed to some great curriculum and inquiry in the classroom. And then following that, we'll just continue through the announcements. And if you want to hit play, we will say the pledge.
We can do anything.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello.
Hi.
Is Mr. Dutz in here?
hot air balloon? Yeah. Can we come record? I'm scared.
Yes. Let's go, Lena.
Hey, come sit in your seats, guys.
Hello.
Okay, last thing. When it does lift off and touch the ceiling, it may move around. Because if you guys notice, we have little vents right here. Check this out. Okay, they're going to blow your hot air balloon. So you're going to need to be careful with these and make sure that it does not sit down and blow and go upside down. Okay? And then last thing. When your fourth candle goes out and you only have 3 lit, your hot air balloon is going to start falling. I'm going to get yours lit up first. Who was second? Okay, you guys, and you guys. Okay, we're gonna go in that order. You guys ready? Okay, back person, hold it up for me. Also, you're gonna take the candles that when I'm done with these, you're gonna go put them in the water, okay? So make sure you take the matches there for me. Okay, hold it careful for me. Nice and careful. Get the light. Hold it up, hold it up. Okay, put it on the table, watch it.
What do you think of
Iris,
this?
you're gonna take the
I think it's gonna die.
You think it's gonna die?
Thank you for putting that together and sharing that. What a unique reverence and pledge. And you did very well merging the two. So thank you for doing that. All right, next on our agenda, we're going to have a couple of recognitions. So we'll turn the time over to Ben Horsley for those.
I'd like to turn the time over to Chris Shipman to introduce our academic All-States.
Good evening. Thank you for taking some time to recognize our academic all-state students. This fall, we had 34 of our students earn that honor, which means that they were seniors that had a cumulative GPA of a 3.7 or higher, and they've changed it to a sliding scale with their ACT. So it's been a little bit more competitive to earn the academic all-state accolade. So we weren't able to bring them in like we have in years past. So Ben's department did a great job of getting out to the schools and getting pictures of all of them. And we should have a short video honoring all of these students to show you.
Thanks, Chris. 34
34.
Just 34.
Just 34.
for this season.
Just wanted to reassure everybody that we were smiling under those masks in every picture. We're going to go ahead and turn the time over back to Chris Shipman to introduce the videos for our state championships as well.
So we did have 2 teams win state championships this year. We had our boys golf team at Skyline, who set a new state record. and our girls soccer team at Olympus, who, if you didn't see that game, it was an extremely exciting one that was won in overtime. And we have, do we want to do video or them? Or Ben's department has also put together a great video for them. And we were able to have the principal, coach, and some of the team members here. If we could have Principal Stephen Prashant come introduce his girls soccer team.
Members of the board and superintendency, it's a great honor to be here tonight. Those pictures don't really capture what that game was like. It was just an amazing game. It was just a defensive stance. I mean, that was just a tough fought match, and our girls really battled through it. And they worked hard. They played well as a team, and that shows in a lot of things with that goal and the effort they put through that season to get there. In recognizing that team, 6 of our players this year actually were made a 5A All-State team. We had the 5A MVP. She's a junior coming back next year, so we have her, and we had 4 first team and 1 honorable mention. And of that group, we also had 3 academic All-State. So this is a great group of young ladies. This is our first year's coach, Jamie Evans and Christian Neff. And so they set the bar really low for themselves the first year. So we have a lot of more state championships to look forward to in future years. And with that, I'll introduce Jamie and Christian to come up and talk about the girls and introduce the girls. We have 5 of our 7 seniors tonight. 2 more couldn't make it tonight, but we wanted to invite all our seniors to at least have this honor.
This group of girls was absolutely incredible. I just have to say that. And it was a magical season from start to finish. I forgot to bring the shirt that these guys chose for our saying, our slogan. And it was actually our time. And throughout the whole season, they proved that it actually was their time this year to win this all. So it was an amazing year. We have 5 of the 7 seniors here tonight to be recognized, and they should be. What else makes our team really incredible is that we only actually kept 12 field players. And on a team that plays, you play with 10. So these guys, we needed every single one of them to be on, to play and to show up every game. So they did awesome. So I'll introduce them. This is Megan Jewell right here, Abby Holtby, Fifi Ward, Brooklyn Barnes, sorry, and Lily Webster. So this is 5 of our 7 seniors that made this team incredible this year.
In the olden days, we'd have you come up and shake hands, but we'll wave and say congratulations and thank you so very much.
Don't breathe on any of us.
No, you guys are great. It's a picture of you, not of us.
Another round of applause for our state champions.
All right, thanks for making the effort to be here this evening, and we congratulate you on being the best of the best. Good job.
Now, if we could have Principal Mitch Nurden come up and introduce his boys golf team.
Yep.
Superintendent and members of the Board of Education, we are very pleased to be here to present the Skyline golf team. I'm going to take a moment and just introduce our coaches and let them brag about their team. Kenny James is the head coach and Cade Robertson is his assistant coach. Kenny James has been involved in coaching at Skyline since 1993. He has coached football, girls and boys basketball, swimming, boys and girls golf. He has been the head coach of boys basketball during the 2015 to 2018 school years, and he has been the head of boys and girls golf since 2019. His greatest accomplishment as a coach has been winning 3 state championships in a row. Cade joined the team this year in his first season as the assistant coach. I'm going to turn the time now over to them to present their team.
Thank you. We had a situation with our golfers, quarantine situation, so that's why we don't have, one of them's getting tested, and anyway, so that's why they're not here. But it was a pretty amazing special year. We had a good group of seniors, 6 seniors, but only 3 of them were on the varsity team. They, as a team, they traveled in the summertime and went back to Pinehurst in South Carolina to play in that national invitational, which they won, even though we didn't place anybody in the top 10 individually, but as a group team, as 4 or as 5 scores, they won that thing. So that was the first thing they did this summer, which was really neat. We didn't shoot a single score under par on the whole season, for the whole season. Every score was under par for the whole season. So that was pretty amazing. We put up some really, really low numbers. And then this is our 3rd straight region championship and state championship. That senior group was a part of their freshman year. They lost after leading through day 1. And so they had a goal to win 3 straight. And they accomplished that, which was pretty amazing. Tyson Shelley's going to go play at BYU, and Simon Kwan is going to go play at Cal. So that's pretty neat to have 2 D1 guys on one team. We set a state record of -35 for a 2-day score, which may stand up for quite a while since the last score stood up for quite a while. Tyson Shelley set an individual score of -16 for 2 days, which may stand up even longer than. And he tied for the 2nd best 1-day score with Tony Finau. He tied that. So that was pretty neat. Something that we'll remember for a long time. It was a special group. They worked so hard, and they met their goals, and they support each other, and it was competitive, and it was a pretty amazing and special run of 3 years. And luckily we have only lost to 3. So of the 7 that we took to state, we got 4 back. So there's a pretty good chance we'll still be pretty good. So hopefully it won't be as easy though. Not that it's ever easy, but it was a special group, and we had a lot of support from our school, and it was great. And I appreciate Cade's help.
Thanks, you guys.
Someday Tony Finau is gonna say he got golf huge.
Great job.
Another round of applause for our state champions, please.
And thanks to you as well for coming tonight and joining us and being the best of the best.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Do we have any citizen participation
We don't.
signed up? Nope. All right. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda, consent items. Board members, we've had since Thursday, I believe, to review the entire agenda. And I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the items on the consent agenda. Any questions, concerns? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we'll move on. We have one information item on our agenda this evening, and that is a presentation about our elementary music instruction. And we have Rick Anthony here this evening to lead us in that discussion.
Board member superintendency, thank you for the opportunity this evening. I put together information and some data regarding music education, both elementary and secondary, taking a look at historical and then current numbers and data. I wanted to start off with going back to 2003. And some of this, apologies to some board members, some of this will be review for you, and perhaps you'll have some commentary as well to fill in gaps I might leave. In 2003, we had the No Child Left Behind, which was a federal act that placed a lot of emphasis on measuring student outcomes in literacy and numeracy. That resulted in a board resolution with a desire in that resolution to have a concerted effort to increase student achievement in those two areas. The resolution specified a elementary time schedule of 1/2 of each academic day being spent on literacy instruction and 1/4 of each academic day being spent on numeracy instruction.
It's important to remember there are 11 subjects in the elementary curriculum. And so 3/4 of the time was being spent on 2 of the 11. Things fall through the cracks under those circumstances.
So again, a concerted effort in those two subject areas. Implications of that resolution in 2003, and I think this is where some of our board members will remember this. Because of that time investment and that structure, it narrowed the instructional focus to those tested subjects and had a result of a discouraging of the integration of those remaining 9 core content areas. Superintendent speaks to all 11 with a heavy focus on 2, the other 9 receive less time. So in 2012, the board had another resolution where that removed those time constraints. So removing the half day and 1/4 day, half day on literacy and 1/4 day on math, in the resolution specifying that all state core subject standards will be taught and instruction will be as integrated and authentic as possible. So this idea of integration, meaning again, your day is only so much time in 11 subject areas in your instructional design, you have to make a concerted effort to integrate standards from several subject areas into activities that you're doing. This resolution had some implications. Because of this change, elementary teachers struggled to implement music core due to lack of experience or background knowledge. Remember, elementary teachers are not secondary teachers in the sense that they teach more than one core subject area. Secondary, obviously one, perhaps two or three, but typically much narrower than elementary. At the time, we had a 5th, 6th grade pullout model that we found to be really the only music instruction that students were receiving in elementary. So we took a close look at that study, and again, some board members will remember this. That study, I wanted to highlight some portions of that. We had, at that time, 14 specialists or 14 FTE that traveled to schools and pulled out students. So this is what I'm calling an instrumental music pullout model. Students that could participate in that were 5th and 6th grade students who had the choice to participate. They opted to do that. We found at that time a very low student participation rate district-wide. That's not to say some schools had a higher participation rate than others. District-wide, the feeling was that participation rate was low. Added to that, instrumental music is not part of the elementary core. And in having a pullout, the feeling was that contributed to a narrow instructional focus and lack of integration of music standards. So, go ahead, Nicole.
Did you guys ask why the participation was low? What was the reasoning behind that?
Honestly, I think it'd be several variables. The first variable I'd point to perhaps would be socioeconomics. Although in fairness, I think it's more than one thing. Connie, you wanted to.
I was involved in that, and at Lincoln Elementary, where I was teaching, and my kids were tried to be part of the music program. For the strings, there were about 11 kids, and there was like 6 or 7 kids, and children who come from lower income families could not qualify to rent an instrument. So that knocked out a lot of them. And for me personally, and was I here when we voted on that? I think I was. When Miss Wong down the hall had 36 6th graders, and she was a first-year teacher. My daughter was in her class. And the music teacher, who was a licensed teacher, had 11 kids. It didn't feel like equity. And at Lincoln was not, you look at most of the lower income schools at that time, and it was the same story. And when you have a whole building full of children and 11 kids are getting the benefit of $2 million program, if I remember correctly, it was $2 million. The equity of that just didn't feel right. And Lincoln had their instrumental music teacher got permission to do just general music type things. And that person was able, I can't remember when it started. It may have been three or 4 grades, but it evolved into being the whole school. And I think that's why we went the direction with the Beverly Taylor Sorensen. Every child deserves to have some fine arts, not just a handful. And there were more affluent areas that had higher success. And I have no doubt that kids benefited from that. But when you compare the small amount that were in that program to the kids that were not getting anything, that was why I voted to go in a different direction.
Yeah, the board resolution resulted in the creation of the elementary music model where board member Anderson points out that 5th and 6th grade were just receiving, so this model had all students receive elementary core music curriculum. But recognizing that this isn't easy for an elementary teacher, the reassignment of the 14 specialists, a couple of FTE were added, bumped it to 16. who then continued to serve schools, but in more of a side-by-side model, working with teachers, talking about integration of music standards throughout their curriculum.
In all 7 grades.
In all grades, yes. The Beverly Taylor Sorensen side-by-side model was looked at as kind of that push in, or side-by-side maybe is another word for, instead of a pull-out model. It's that coaching with a music specialist for all elementary teachers in all grades. Timeline, I'll just continue. In 2014, Riverton Music was sought as a solution to help bolster and was introduced as an optional band and orchestra in elementary schools. Fee waivers did apply to that. Riverton's music still continues to be, there continues to be demand for that. I want to point out, this year and even the spring of last, we've seen a big decrease due to COVID and the pandemic. Also, Beverly Taylor Sorensen has continued to evolve. The state we have a matching grant with the state where the specialists were bumped from 16 to 32 FTE. Beverly Taylor Sorensen is an expanded model. It is a side-by-side model. It is also all 4 art form model. So it's theater, music, dance, and visual arts for all elementary students. And that continues to today. So to the data portion, what has been the trend in secondary music enrollment in the last 12 years? Going back to our SIS, I want to point out how we ask the question when it comes to data, just really framing the data you're about to see. So this data is the number of distinct, counted once per student, students enrolled in at least one music class. This is grades 6 through 12. This is instrumental and vocal music classes. So in junior high up through high school, that becomes all of those smaller bulleted courses. All of these are being considered in this trend line that you're seeing. So we go back to about 2008. Any data prior to 2007 is a little less reliable. So we only went back to 2008, feeling that was real data. The percentage that you see there is the line from 2008 till now in instrumental and vocal music. I did add this slide, or these 2 questions and 1 slide today, just because that information was given to me by my organizational effectiveness department. So disaggregate junior high from high school. Also, taking a look at all 4 art forms, what have their trend lines been in both junior high and high school? So this visual, I'm sorry it's small, partly because of me just adding it in, but you can see there, it's probably closer to you can see a little bit better. You can see in junior high, music tends to be the highest percentage of courses taken of the 4 art forms. Next is visual art. You see a trend of up and then a downtrend in the last few years in junior high music. In visual art, you see that trend and a little bit of an uptrend in the last several years in visual art. In high school, those 2 flip-flop, and perhaps a little bit more significantly, visual art is clearly the highest taken art form in high school. Has been trending up in the last few years. Next to that becomes music. Both instrumental and vocal, again, are combined with a little bit of a trend downward in the last few years. Theater and dance tending to be the less taken courses.
So if I'm reading that right, I mean, to me, that looks like we're seeing a direct result from that elementary program. Look how much it drops off there in junior high. That's a
2012?
Well, I mean, 2015.
Yeah, we know that change happened in 2012. We see an increase going, and now we're starting to see a decrease.
Yeah.
In the later slides, I kind of leave you with some question as to which variables could be influencing that, and that certainly could be one. I didn't really explore, what the changes in visual art is, or have much data for you on the visual art side. Just wanted to give you a comparison. as we've shifted to all 4 art forms being emphasized in elementary school. So that question that you posed, Nicole, how has the change from the pull-out model to general music model impacted secondary music enrollment? I think if you were just to use that variable and look at that data, you would say, looks like maybe that's going down. But want to introduce to you, honestly, there's several variables that could be influencing these things. And again, honestly, I haven't explored these in depth in tonight's presentation.
Well, and Rick was asked a couple of specific questions, and this presentation answers those specific questions. And then if we'd like to tug into that some more, then you'll need to let us know, and we'll work on that some more.
Yeah, these variables I feel like would need to be isolated, and we'd have to investigate a little bit further. Obviously, there's the instrumental pull-out model versus the general music model. There's also scheduling. So this idea of how courses are selected at each school, and how that's carried out and run. You also have to look at secondary schools' number of periods. When you have a 7-period option for students versus a 10-period option for students, elective courses are the beneficiaries of that. That's another variable that would have to be isolated a little bit. And over the years, we've seen more and more required courses to graduate from high school, which is taken from elective options. A third variable becomes changes in overall school enrollment numbers, whether it's increasing or decreasing enrollment in a high school, or grade reconfiguration. We want to account for that variable as well. The last 3 are this idea of community and the earlier thinking around socioeconomics and expense, also ethnicity, diversity, and cultural influence on program interest. How does that change depending on the community it's in and what's offered and how that looks for that community? You also have school administration and their degree of support. Obviously, leaders in school can always make a big difference. And then finally, classroom teacher, that teacher's level of effectiveness and recruitment efforts. Anecdotally, I've seen courses that I never thought kids would be really excited about and interested about carry lots of periods just because of that teacher. So certainly that's an element as well. All of those become variables if we were to want to delve into this further that we'd have to consider and try and isolate and tease out a little bit more. Board members, that's all I have for you this evening. Questions?
Yeah, we'll just open it up. Anybody have questions? Go ahead, Nicole.
Todd, you spoke specifically to this, that you wanted to have this be an information item. What were share with us what your concerns, your questions, your thoughts are on it. I'd like to know from your perspective.
I've just observed what I think is a real decrease in the quality of our music in our secondary schools, and this data seems to bear that out.
Do you have any thoughts or suggestions as to what we could do?
Well, we could go back to what we were doing before.
This is tricky. So we have, I'm a music teacher, and so I absolutely love music. I know we have two spaces over from me, also another music teacher. This is tricky because I absolutely love and adore music, and Todd's statement is, there's a lot of truth to that, where perhaps in the secondary schools, we have kids who haven't been exposed as early as if we had an orchestra at every elementary school. I think when my kids were younger, what I observed, at least out in my area, there were about 2 to 3 kids per school participating, which isn't a super high number. And then you deal with equity issues and teacher FTE and all those good things. But let me tell you some positives that I've seen from the new model that involves all 4 art forms. when when one of my kids was in elementary during the little Halloween parade, back when you could do those, they actually did kind of a surprise dance, and so they did Thriller. And I have to tell you, my boy's not a dancer. But he and his friends had the biggest grin, and they were following their instructor to a T and had a great time. And so if the purpose of sharing these different art forms to and help kids explore different things they never would have, then I call that a win. You know, another thing is they at a particular school they have. I know we have a lot of phenomenal teachers. I just happen to know this one personally. She is out at one of our elementaries right by me, and she's a fantastic visual arts teacher. And let me tell you, those kids absolutely rave about Miss Britt and how wonderful she is, and how art's now their favorite subject, and they look forward to it, you know, every so often when they get to go to her. She's actually in a relo in her classroom and be able to participate. And even my daughter caught wind of that, and now she loves to kind of experiment and just, you know, create her own. So I understand the concern. I just wanted to say, you know, even the thinnest pancake has two sides. And so there is an opposite side to this, that kids are being enriched with the other art forms, albeit I do recognize, Todd, fully that, you know, maybe not, the emphasis has shifted from heavy on music to spread out among 4 art forms.
Well, the other art forms were available before also. They were just electives. So what we've basically done is taken away an opportunity to have a lot of focus on music, and basically told people, you'll try this or you'll try that. But those other art forms were available before as well.
In elementary?
It's not like they've all been introduced before.
I mean, electives in secondary, but I was speaking specific to the elementary format. But yeah, absolutely. Electives are available. Nicole?
So yeah, so I could speak all day on this, and Todd, I understand what you're saying, and I don't know that we'll ever get back to that, because I understand. I've taught both secondary and elementary, and I understand that the elementary requirements have changed, and that the pressures that they have and what they have to teach are really, they're a lot more. I appreciate that we have the Beverly Taylor Sorensen grant, and that does touch every kid. I think that's important, that every kid gets some sort of art. You know, the music teacher in me says every kid needs to have music. There is something different about music. You and I can have that debate another time.
I agree with you. I'd much rather sing than dance.
It's well, and you know, I mean, honestly, it really is. It's the only art form that, sorry, Rick, but it's the only art form that uses both parts of your brain. The only other thing that comes anywhere close to it is learning a foreign language, to the same degree. Now, I'm not saying other art forms don't use both parts of your brain, but to that same degree. So it's like learning a language. You are learning a foreign language when you learn this. And so there's really a lot of other academic, you know, things with that. So, you know, we can talk about that part of it. But to me, my concern with this, as I saw it happening, because I saw it, I stepped out of the classroom here in Granite District right before this happened. But I understand. I had one feeder elementary teacher that was phenomenal, and then I had one that was not. And it was so frustrating that I had to carry 15 kids in my class in order to carry a class, yet they had 5. And that wasn't fair. So I understand what you're saying with the equality thing. I guess I'm going to the part that the variables, what you're talking about. First of all, the school administration, the degree of support. I was very disappointed in hearing when this all happened that there were some administrators, even though I think there was something sent out from the district as far as a good practice, that were not having beginning band and beginning orchestra being offered. Because even now with Riverton Music, if they offer it at the elementary, it's not always offered at the junior high. And that concerns me. Every kid should have a chance. And especially, I think, you know what, we have most of our elementaries and junior highs now going to the 6, 7, 8 model. And we can look at plenty of programs around us that don't start their kids till 7th grade. And they're okay, but we have to have that support. And that's what concerns me right there is, first of all, the school administration support, and definitely the level of effectiveness. I will totally admit that with the classroom teacher. The teachers have to also be responsible for that. You know, I go out and recruit, and I understand that that's something that's important. we need to know, to me, I want to see that we have elementary teachers or elementary principals also supporting these teachers to come out and recruit, because I know we've been told as teachers, no, you can't come and recruit. We don't have time for this, or we need to be able to recruit if we're going to continue to have these programs and offer them to the people who want them. And so administration support is something that is, to me, is a key to this. I just feel like that was where things kind of crumbled down, and where we got a lot of kids fell through the cracks with that. And I feel really bad with that. I do have a question as far as the Beverly Taylor Sorensen. You said that we increased the FTE from 14 to 16. Is that being paid for through the district?
Yes.
Where's the,
Yeah.
so the Beverly Taylor Sorensen or the other half
So
of
that
that?
model's a matching model. So, yeah, so the
okay, so they
16 that
took
we
the other-
had, the state
We-
matches us, so we bumped that to 32 FTE.
Okay.
We went from 14 to 16, and then
And they
they've
matched
matched
the-
that. Now we're
Okay.
at 32.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, I know that there's even, not all teachers are created equal, and we can all agree on that, I think. But even now, the programs that we have, some of them do a really great job, and some of them are just not doing much. And anyway, but I think, to me, it's important. Again, I'm just going to go back to, it's important that, especially as we're getting 6th grade into junior high, can we please make sure that we are offering beginning in every school? Because otherwise we're not going to get it. They're not going to have that opportunity.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Connie?
Yeah, do you know if the junior highs, when we talked about changing, we wanted the junior high teachers to hold a summer school for those beginners. Do we have that?
We offered this speaks to not all teachers being created equal. We offered that, and we offered to fund that. And some of the junior high band, orchestra, other music teachers said, oh, that's great. And others said, we're not, that's my summer. And we would continue to support that if that were.
We ran one in connection with Granite Youth in the summer for June, for the month of June. And a lot of kids took advantage of that. But I know that they were asked to pay tuition, but they could apply for a fee waiver. So I went and volunteered for that. So I know that has
That's
happened.
done in some schools, but
So
not,
I hope
not in
that
others. Not in
we could
You
get
send me
more.
the slides.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to my email.
Yeah, I can.
Another question that I do have is, oh gosh, I just lost it. Never mind. Go ahead.
I do want to highlight too, I think a challenge of this becomes, again, the 11 subject areas in elementary and our dedication to
That's right. Yeah.
USBE and our charge of teaching all standards to students, and the challenge that really is given the amount of time. And so you're always playing this investment and balancing act. And part of the reason of highlighting that resolution in 2003 that really narrowed that versus 12, which is wide, and in all fairness is challenging for an elementary teacher to cover all standards. And so it's trying to do the best we can at the charge that we have.
In fact, if I remember right, that's a few years back, at first we were going to want all teachers, elementary teachers, to cover all 4 art subjects.
Yeah.
And that just became overwhelming to our teachers. That's when we went to the specialists.
Right.
And then Beverly Sorensen
Yeah.
program matched ours.
Yeah.
Are we the only district still in the state
Yes.
that has that?
I think we have the best deal going. So I think
For several years, we were the only district that had BTS in every school.
Yeah.
There may be some others that are doing that now. I don't know the answer to that, but we do have a sweetheart deal with them.
yeah, credit Linda Mariotti with that.
But I think if I remember right, we got a lot of pushback from our elementary teachers.
That's correct.
You're just asking way too
Yeah,
much
the
of us.
challenge of 11.
It's not a
subjects.
fact that they don't realize the importance of music and the great benefits, which I think that they do, some maybe more than others, but it created a lot of stress, if I remember right, on our elementary teachers.
What started in 2003, between 2003 and 2012, Rick mentioned this. I don't know that everybody caught exactly what he said, but the only formal music instruction in our elementary schools was the pull-out band and orchestra program, which isn't part of the elementary core.
4th, 5th, and 6th.
For 5th and 6th grade. So, but really the other teachers weren't teaching any of the fine arts core because there was that focus on reading and on math. You'll remember perhaps letters that we'd get where my kid's not even getting science. My kid's not getting any social studies. All they're getting is these things. So it was through no fault of their own. I mean, I get it. We got it at the time. When we got to 2012, there were teachers who hadn't taught any music in a decade. They hadn't done any art in a decade because that was this instrumental pullout program. So when the resolution was adopted in 2012, the kids really deserved to get the full core. Teachers really struggled with that, understandably, because now not only were they supposed to teach music, they are also supposed to teach these, because there are 4 fine arts cores that every kid is really supposed to be getting in elementary school.
That's also when the real emphasis on assessments became a focal point of the state. And we started having school grades. And, so
And continues.
It was a big
That
burden
continues. I mean, that's
a
still the
lot of
case
things
now.
came together at the same time, which is why Beverly Taylor, the BTS, was such a coup for us to get the match from the state. And the idea was and continues to be that those, because not every BTS specialist is a specialist in all 4 forms. So each school really, the idea was that they would rotate from school to school so that maybe 1 year you'd get music, but the next year you'd get drama, and the 3rd year you'd get. But we know what happened there. Schools really fell in love with their specialists and didn't want them to rotate. So that's been a whole nother issue that we've been dealing with. But we really went from 0 music instruction to a whole lot of music instruction, albeit not band and orchestra.
Well, and I'm going to turn the time over to Connie Anderson, but let me just make a quick comment. I do remember when we first went to 16, those poor teachers were visiting 4 schools. Their time was divided to 4. So when we got this Beverly Taylor Sorensen match, which, you call the best deal in the state, which it is, going from 32, that meant that the teachers now only split their time between 2 schools, which made all the difference in the world. Because I just can't even imagine having to go to 4 different schools and knowing 4 different, just working with 4 different administrations and 4 different set of teachers and 4 different population of kids. That's just, it really was a really good deal for us. And those, to be split between 2 schools. Connie.
I just wanted to make clear that the equity issue was a huge factor for me, but I think we also need to recognize that with whatever flaws that program had, there were still students that really benefited from it. And there were programs in the district that benefited from it. And Nicole here, was part of that program. And so, it wasn't that there were not some kids that really got a great benefit out of it, because there were, but it just didn't serve all the kids.
Okay, Nicole, do you have a comment, question?
Yes, sorry, a couple more. So,
You wrote them down this time.
Just don't give me anyway, so, and I talked to you about this earlier about what's on the schedule. That's a concern of mine as well for
What's
secondary.
on the cards? Like, what's the option?
What's on their registration cards? Because I showed you my daughters and how some of these, because 7 periods, it's hard. I know that's why, when we were at Churchill, we went to 8 periods and it was like, oh, I got more kids. And it's fantastic for our elective programs. But I think we need to be careful also the way, and I talked to him about this when the registration happened last year, but when they come up with a card and says you have to take, and they have half of a year. And music is the one thing you can pick art up later. You can start beginning drama. You can start beginning art. But music, if you don't start it in junior high or elementary, you can't start orchestra or band in high school. It's rare. Sometimes kids do it, but it's very rare. You can't do that. So we have to leave that open, by saying you have to take these 6.5 classes when you're in sixth grade. It's really difficult. And that I had parents look at me at the elementary school going, oh, well, I guess my kid can't take this. Well, I think that's really, honestly, that's one reason why we're seeing that dip in there. We're not allowing them. And we need to kind of, I feel bad because I think, parents, we need to allow them to have that chance, those kids to have that chance.
So what would you suggest that we look at doing?
Well, reading is sometimes said that it's required. My daughter was told it was required. PE, help, all of those things where there's more flexibility. It would be nice to have some more flexibility instead of a rigid, you have to take this here, you have to take this here, to have a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, that comboed with, again, how many periods, the day's length is the same, but how you slice it can vary depending on school. So that's an important piece.
Going back to principals, it can't be, we're not going to offer this because this teacher has this many classes, then, I would have to cut back on what so, it really does fall on the shoulders of principals. But I really think Nicole has a great point as far as looking at what we're offering kids and saying, you have to take this, you have to take this. The instrumental music or whatever music needs to be on the registration card and not be an afterthought.
And now that, it's on the registration card, but now that we also have the possibility of doing online, maybe that can be opened up a little bit more to some of our junior high classes as we do with the high school classes, because that gives them a little bit more flexibility in that. So that's just one other thing, what's on our schedule with that. And then also, I know that at least one teacher, if not more, has offered saying, can you allow me to be paid for one of my periods, and I'll go down to the elementary and I'll teach that class, because they have a vested interest. They'll make sure they've got their recruit. They'll make sure that they keep those kids. They'll make sure. And when you see that pulls through, I just would like to see a little bit more flexibility perhaps in our FTE and how we work with that. If a teacher is missing, if a teacher is short one period, allow them to go down there and do that.
Part of that is licensure, but the point you're making is a really good one.
So, yeah. Well, but my degree is K-12.
Is it?
Yeah.
The
And
music.
most instrumental music are K-12. So, yeah, you're right. That is a valid point. The older ones are not. So anyway, just a little, I just would like to see a little bit more flexibility, because I miss the glory days. I miss how it used to be. And but I also understand the equality, and I want all the kids to have the opportunity. And I think we have a golden opportunity getting these kids in sixth grade into the junior high to give them that opportunity. We can put instruments in their hands and they can flourish. If you ever have a question about that, go down and check out Westlake.
Well, I'm taking notes, and John's taking notes, and Garrett's back there. I assume Garrett's taking notes. Garrett supervises. How many junior highs? 5, 6? 6? So these are, we'll discuss this more.
Anyway.
You're right on.
Well, and back to your scheduling thing, because I actually just I have a 7th grader. And so last year, we didn't, at the end of 6th grade, we didn't get the typical, counselors come and some of that stuff. But looking at the registration card, it's interesting, it just seems that naturally some subjects are pushed, maybe even the elective ones. For example, my daughter's like, I got to take foreign language in 7th grade. And I said, no, you don't. Actually, you can save that for high school, because then it counts to Regents. And so she's like, oh. And so sometimes I think maybe, Garrett, this would be a good thing to take back to some of your schools and all of our principal, what are they called? What's your title, Garrett? Director. God, that word escaped me. The directors over all of them. Because I do think sometimes we are guilty, we as a district and those going out talking about registration cards, to somehow, maybe we are presenting classes as required where truly they aren't, which would then open up some of the flexibility that Nicole is talking about, if that makes any sense. Because I've sat in before and I'm back there like, no, actually you don't have to take foreign language. That opens up 1 full credit a year, and things like that. So I think we can maybe have an eagle eye on that and do some training and pass some information along so that those counselors that are going out are maybe giving every course a fair shake instead of favoring some ones over the others. Just a thought.
No, to speak to that, I basically had that conversation with counselors before that I've worked with that, I asked them, why are you pushing biology in 9th grade? They don't have to take biology grade. And they said, well, but we have to have kids take those classes in order to keep the biology teacher. And I said, but you have to have them take my class in order to keep me. And it was kind of like a slap in the face. Well, you're not as important as the biology teacher. And so messaging it the right way to me is very, very important. So, okay.
You put your finger on something real important.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Okay.
Those are great points. And I appreciate you bringing that up from the music
No, you're
teacher.
good.
No,
You're good. It's coming from the right source
Yeah,
because
it's
she
coming
is a
from the
music
right-
teacher in the classroom. I'm on the side. So thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. We have tonight 3 action items. They are all, no, I take that back. The first one is not a second reading, but the number 2 and 3 are second readings. So let's start out with John. Going to come up. This is an action item speaking to the end of term professional development days, and we'll let John explain.
Okay.
there.
So I think Ben's going to pull it up for you. He wants me to have the clicker, so I don't have to tell him to advance it. That's okay. All right.
That's good.
Okay. So just to remind everybody, at the beginning of this year, due to COVID, one of the things that we emphasized is flexibility, because there's just so much that's constantly that we're learning from, and that we get different guidelines that come out and so forth and so on. With our school calendar, I'll go ahead and this is our current school calendar, and one of the reasons I wanted to share this with you is just to highlight that at the end of the first quarter, we added 2 professional development days, which fell on the 20th and the 22nd, I believe, if I can. Yeah, 21st and the 22nd. And then the 23rd of October was actually the student non-attendance day. We got a lot of positive feedback from that. And so we had teachers ask the following question. Could we add more PDAs at the end of second quarter and third quarter? So every year we get from the USBE 1 day that we can use for PD. What we typically do is we actually have the teachers take that day before school starts, and then on the what we call in the calendar the legislative day, which was the day before Thanksgiving, they are then off that day.
Kids,
Okay.
that counts as an instructional day.
Yes.
Even though it's a professional development day.
Yes. But they actually work that day before school starts. Okay. Then this year, due to COVID, the state gave an allotment of an additional 5 days, but that is not something that will be happening every year. That is something that happened this year. We took 2 of those 5 days in October, which means we now have 3 days that we could possibly work with. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure on this next slide, it indicates, that the USB gave us, and everyone throughout the state an exception, pandemic. And so we have 3 more days that we could use to incorporate in the calendar. Looking at that, so what we're proposing is that at the end of the second quarter, which ends mid-January, we add 2 more of those professional development days on the 13th and the 14th, which would then make the 12th a distance learning day, and the 15th would remain SNAD day, student non-attendance day. So that would be very similar to what we did first quarter, okay? And then at the end of third quarter, in March, we would add a PD day. What we're proposing is to add a PD day on the 25th. The 26th would be the SNAD day, and then the 24th would become the distance learning day. And that would do it. We would then have used all of the PD days that were granted as an exception for this year. Okay, so that's part of what we're proposing. And then what I also wanted to show with you is that 12 of our schools experienced power outages in September, and we were unable to hold school on those days. So we need to make up those instructional days with the students. Those schools are shown. So on these schools right here, Farnsworth, William Penn, Spring Lane, Twin Peaks, and Bonneville all missed one day due to the power outages. And that was, if you guys recall, it was due to the wind. We had severe wind that came through the valley and knocked out the power, and for some folks for several days. And then these schools, Cottonwood Elementary, Crestview, Eastwood, Rosecrest, Upland Terrace, and Granite Connect and Wasatch Junior High actually missed 2 days due to those power outages.
So did none of these schools, whether it's 1 to 2 days, did none of them switch to distance learning mode, which would still count as an instructional day? It was just literally a day where school was just shut down.
Those were literally shut down. There were some that we were able to switch to distance learning day
not on
the third day, but we couldn't do it on the first or second day due to the circumstances.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
So-
Because they were out of power too. I'd imagine it's hard. I just
Yes.
wanted to clarify that because I think that's a question that might be cycling through people's minds.
Yes.
Why didn't you just switch to distance then?
Right. But the homes around the area, around the schools also lost power, and so many of them didn't have Wi-Fi. And for some of them, they because we didn't know what was going to happen, they weren't able to get the Chromebooks and so forth and so on. So what we're proposing is that those schools are actually required to make up that time, the instructional time. So for those schools needing to make up one day, we would propose that they would make that up on January 13th, which would be a PD day for the rest of the district, but it would be a distance learning day for them. And for the schools needing the 2 days, that they would make them up January 13th and March 25th. And so that would then meet the requirement of those instructional days. Okay. So, any questions on that?
Does it shorten, how many days, how many days does that put into the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter? Have you guys looked at that to see what the balance
It
is?
keeps them balanced.
It
keeps them
keeps,
balanced.
because there's 2 days that we're adding in the second quarter, it keeps them balanced. And the third quarter, what it would do is there would be one less, I think it's one less A day than B day.
And third quarter?
Third quarter, yeah.
To me, I know I'm not alone in this, board members, but I got a lot of positive thank you emails from our teachers after the first quarter. I think, boy, I called it the craziest quarter of their teaching career, and I still think it is and was. And so to give them those 2 days to catch their breath, get a little bit caught up, not only on grading for quarter one, but looking ahead and maybe getting a couple of the emails I received as thanks for the days, because I feel like now heading into second quarter, I'm slightly ahead of the game instead of scrambling to keep up, because it is such a crazy year. Our teachers, let me just tell you, they're doing a phenomenal job in a very hard year under unprecedented circumstances. I mean, we are in a global pandemic, so I don't know how you can get any crazier circumstance, but I'm not going to ask for anything crazier than what we have. I just want to make mention that those days, I think, for what you're proposing will be equally appreciated, I guess, from our teachers. Anytime we can have our teachers be able to catch their breath, I think it's a good thing, rejuvenate a little bit. So I think this is, to me, I'm fully supportive of this. I was very excited to hear that we still had those days left. And I think this is a wonderful, wise way to use them. But I'll open it up. Any concerns or questions?
Well, and I would like to just add that our curriculum department has been doing a lot of heavy lifting in trying to give resources out to teachers. And the teachers felt like these professional development days were an opportunity to take those resources and really map out their in depth, their next quarter instruction.
Yeah,
So,
and I appreciate that, but it takes time. I
Yes,
mean,
it
the
does.
teachers still need time to access and sift through and choose and then tweak and personalize it to their liking. And so I think you're right. Those two things working together can be good. Terry.
So we were prepared to, the district curriculum people sent out for second term already, right? How are we doing with third term?
We have not sent out second term. We are running about 4 weeks ahead.
Oh.
And that's
let's
partly.
say that differently. We've set out the first half of second
First
term.
half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably the glass half full version of saying it, Terry. In all transparency, we were able to get first term ahead on first term because of summer and the amount of teachers who were free in the summer to help support that. We've run into some challenges with staying extremely ahead of it, both because teachers are back in session, so we've lost that additional support group, comboed with we continue to struggle with failed to fills and having specialists go out and cover subs. But they are doing a great job. That's been their primary focus. It's been all hands on deck, and they are staying ahead, but at about 4 weeks right now.
Please make sure you thank them for that too.
All right. If there aren't any more questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the adjustments to the 2021 school calendar to include the proposed interim professional development days.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the end of term professional development days as proposed. Any further concerns or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thanks, John.
but we'll
All
get
right.
the word out.
And give your thanks to our curriculum people
We'll
too,
make,
because we appreciate
make our
them.
third round of magnets for the refrigerators.
Yeah. In fact, if everybody wants current information, it's best to check the websites rather than on the calendar, on the magnet.
Welcome.
It's good to see you guys in person.
Do we look the same? Just kidding.
You guys look great close up.
All right, Garrett's here to speak to us about our.
I think she's saying, go ahead.
I'm not
Yay.
sure.
He's here to talk about our 2021-2022 elementary and secondary fee schedules. This is actually a second reading. We went through this in our last
Right. So
month.
this will be fairly quick. And so I don't know if Ben's pushing the button over there or you got it? Okay. Okay, so there's the clicker. So what you see right there in front of you is a microscopic copy of all of the changes that we've made. I just wanted you to see there's nothing in color on that page because all the changes have been incorporated, as well as the two minor changes that were seen, which was a spelling error and removing the term 9th grade from the one area. We did leave that, again, credit recovery by the chance that some of those courses in junior high are high school credit. And so we want the chance for them to be able to make that up in junior high. If that changes, we'll let you know in the future. So with that, you can see that this is the senior high fee schedule. We have not made any other changes than what you saw last time and the suggestions that were added. You can see the junior high fee schedule and the elementary fee schedule. And then finally, we added the one change to the schedule of non-waivable charges and fines. I'm not going over each one of them again because I covered them last time, but I will be happy to go back. And then that is it.
Just, Garrett, I've never seen that level of brevity from you. That's fantastic.
I hope if I have extra time, I could cover a lot of
No.
We're just, he and I have been working on that.
Brevity is good.
But just to say, these are caps. These are district maximums. And now once this is adopted, it goes to the school for developing their spend plans and what they really need to charge at the school, which cannot exceed anything that's been adopted here.
Yeah, it was very big difference, big change this spring. People really had to kind of figure that out, but it is night and day when you realize that we used to just charge a fee. that the board approved. And now the board approves a maximum, but that you don't get to charge the maximum. You get to charge what you need.
Right.
And it has to be beneath this maximum. So we shouldn't be seeing big programs like we saw with art, where you'd see an art program with $23,000 in their budget. And you'd say, why do you have that much? Well, I just charge the fee every year, but that's not going to happen anymore. Now you charge what you need.
Well, I think my favorite part of this is that there's a cap, because I'm sure I'm not the only parent out there that's thought they're all paid up with the class. And then they check their email and it says, pay your outstanding balance. And then a month later, pay your outstanding balance. And meanwhile, I've lost track of how much I've actually paid. And so, I know I'm not alone in this. And so I love the concept of you are not to charge over this, guaranteed. And so thank you and your team. I know this. I mean, it is a quick presentation, not a lot of changes. I haven't had any emails, board members, I don't know if you have, regarding the fee schedules. So I'm great with all the changes, but I just want to thank your team, because a lot of preparation, a lot of hours has led us to this point, even though it's a very quick presentation. I just don't want to overlook the work that's gone on.
You guys as a board, I just want you to know what you voted on and decided last year. I haven't heard parents complaining. On the other side, I'm getting no complaints from coaches or teachers. They're saying, yeah, this system is working. Bookkeepers are saying it's working. So, and we're in compliance, I think better, and I'm going to say this, better than most districts, I believe, in the state. We've really, I think, made a valiant effort to try to say we want to follow this policy and be fair to our kids. So thank you.
And that's what it does. The effect of this is that it's fair to the kids. And that's what it's about. Thanks, Garrett.
I just ask one real quick question. I did get one email, but it was earlier in the year, but their question was, and it doesn't say anything about this, so I assume that there's nothing, but they said, is there a fee cap per family? And it doesn't say anything about that. So I'm assuming it's just still the fee cap per person.
Yes,
correct?
we did it per person instead of per family.
Okay, so
We had a hard time looking at that family, because you started to say it did cost this much money for the program. So we do fee waivers if someone's on fee waiver, but we moved away from the cap of family.
Okay.
But thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
If there aren't any questions, then I'll entertain a motion.
I motion that we accept the fee schedule for do we have to do them separate? For the elementary and the secondary schools for the 2021-2022 school year.
Could you add to that the fees and fine piece? Does that need to be
Fees
said
and
as well?
fines for the 2021-2022 school year.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the 2021-2022 elementary and secondary fee and fine schedules. Any further concerns, questions, or comments from the board? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes
Thanks,
unanimously.
Garrett.
Thanks, Garrett.
Thank you.
Doug, our final action item of the evening is also a second reading on a policy required by the state about electronic devices and acceptable use of technology.
That's right. Can you hear me, board members? Is that okay? This policy again is this fulfills a requirement of R277495. I just wanted to note, in writing this policy, we did seek broad-based input from directors, which was very, very helpful. No changes were made since the first reading. If you have any other questions about the policy, I'm happy to respond.
We've had this policy to review for the last several days. If there aren't any questions or concerns, I'll also entertain a motion for this second reading.
I move that we accept the electronic devices and acceptable use of technology policy as second reading.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this as a second reading, the electronic devices and acceptable use of technology policy. Any further concerns, questions from board members? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We'll turn the time now. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Turn the time over to Martin.
Thank you, board members. I don't think it comes as a surprise to anyone that we have two board members who will this is their last meeting. I don't remember the last time, frankly, when two left at the same time, but we have a little something for each of you. They're different. For Connie, we have a little statue.
If anybody knows Connie, she loves her overhead projector that she used for years. And so we couldn't help ourselves. And we got her a miniature. I just lost the word. Overhead projector. It's so old, I don't know what it is.
As the superintendent, it's been such a pleasure to work with the both of you. Connie, clearly longer than with Todd, but I just want to thank you on behalf of the administration and the educators of the Granite School District. Thank you both for your service.
Okay, next is board reports, and I don't know who wants to go first. Todd, Connie, any preference?
Hey, we gotta let them go last.
Or do you want to go last?
Last, okay.
All right. Connie, do you want this?
Yeah,
Connie,
sure.
do you want to go first?
I will. It's been such a joy for years. We've been the Connies for a long time. No, we won't. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate what we've been able to, the friendship that we've developed over those 12 years. And the insights that you've had, it's always been a good thing of what you've contributed. And I say thank you so very much for these years. I'll miss you. Todd, thank you. Your ideas, your perspective of things has been a new dimension, and I've been very grateful for what you've contributed. I'm sorry it's only been one term, but I know that you've got better and bigger things in your life now, and we'll certainly miss you, and thank you so much for what you've done for us.
I've tried talking my kids into naming my grandchildren Connie, but no.
Let me know when that happens.
Well, they've all been boys lately, so Connie doesn't work too good, but thank you, Connie, for the wonderful times and memories, and also for the support that you've shown to me and the things you've taught me. It's been a great blessing in my life, and we'll miss you, but we'll look forward to hearing of the great things that continue on in your life. And to you, Todd, also, thank you for, like Connie said, the things that you've brought to the board, your ideas and your thoughts have caused me to appreciate that you're a man of many talents. Thank you, and to your family also. And we hope that things go forward and happy days continue on. Thank you. And I don't have anything else.
Nicole.
No, I too am grateful. I've only had 2 years with both of you, but both of you have taught me so much. And I want you guys to know, I don't know if anybody knows this, but even if we disagree at board meeting, Todd always comes up, and I appreciate that he says, "This has been fun. Thank you." And maybe not every time he said it's been fun, but he always says thank you, and he's always sincere about it. And I appreciate his perspective and what I have learned from him and what he's contributed. I think it's been phenomenal to have your different perspective, and I appreciate your support of the arts and your support of us in general. And of course I'll see Connie, and this is not the last time, but it's been fun. it's been fun. It's been fun to have this dynamic in our relationship. And my husband said when I wanted to run for board before, he said, you can't because Connie's on the board. You can't. This time I just went, no, I'm doing it this time. And so it's been really fun, and I'm going to miss having that dynamic. And I look forward to working with some new people and having some different perspective on the board, but I certainly am going to miss both of you. So thank you.
Chris.
So I just want to mention the very first person who texted me after I was appointed on the board was Todd. And I thought that was so cool that I was like, oh, I felt very welcomed right away. And I appreciated that from Todd so much. And I also appreciate his point of view. As a new board member, I feel like I'm learning so much so fast from every person on this board. And I can appreciate so much Todd's point of view, and his insights were wonderful for me. And Connie, her passion for kids is unparalleled. I'm impressed by her. She's fabulous. I just hope I can be like her when I'm a board member and when I grow up. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Connie. I can see you're holding up your paper. Do you want me to talk first? Okay, so I'm going to I usually go last, but I'll give my comments now. Todd, I've appreciated Todd being on the board. I feel like he's just always been a good friend. I feel like I always have his support. And we'll miss him. Todd brought an eye to detail that I have to tell you, when he reads policy, you can tell what he does in his professional life, which is a lawyer. If there's anything to do with policy or procedure, he is on it, and he'll take one word and he'll say, you know what, if you insert this word, and it's a one word difference, but it makes all the difference in the world in how it reads. And so I've always appreciated from the get-go his attention to detail. So thank you, Todd, for bringing that level of just a keen eye for the smallest tweaks that can make the biggest difference. And I think that's kind of almost a metaphor for life. The smallest things can make big differences. So I thank you for your friendship and hope that continues after this term ends for you. So I look forward to that and to hearing good things from what your future holds. Connie, served with her, and what Chris just said is true. The first thing I wrote on Connie is she fights for kids, especially those that can't fight for themselves. We do more than education here on the board. There's sometimes where we do have to step out, and we are looking for ways to provide clothing and food and shelter and all kinds of support. And Connie is at the forefront of that and always has been. And she's fighting so hard for those kids. Anybody who knows Connie knows she loves to talk. And I have thoroughly enjoyed our many talks on the phone. And I just smile when I see Connie, and I sit on the couch and I just get ready for a good conversation. So Connie, I truly, sincerely appreciate all the things we've talked about. The ideas, we're all about shopping ideas. She's always says, I love when I can shop ideas, because when you're shopping ideas, some ideas are better than others. But when you have collective board looking at all the ideas, most, if not all the time, the best idea goes to the top. But it takes a board. And let me just tell you, this board is good because we disagree. We are good because we disagree, but it never goes over into our personal relationship and friendship. We are a professional board. We don't have time for drama because we have so many important decisions to make. So all of those things are just put to the side, and I truly will miss this board as it stands tonight. Not saying our future boards can't be that way, but just a snapshot in time right now, I have really, truly appreciated every single board member's support and friendship, not only to me, but to each other. And I think that's why our board has been able to accomplish so many good things in recent years, is that camaraderie and respect for different opinions never interferes with how we treat each other. And I appreciate that from not only both Connie and Todd, but from this entire board. Would you like to go next, Connie?
I can.
Okay.
I have to move my overhead projector.
At least it wasn't one of those mimeograph machines that printed in purple.
We could have done that. And when you touched it, your fingers. would
Yeah,
come back blue.
and for the rest of the day, I used that too. But like I say, this is technology. I knew how to use it.
If you need a replacement bulb, let us know. We'll make some for you.
Okay, well, it will have a place of honor at my house, Martin. Thank you. To look back over 12 years, I think that joy came with serving with people and being able to walk into a school and be greeted in such kind way by principals and assistants. And I thought, isn't it weird? Connie made a comment. The hardest thing I ever had to sit through was the closure of Granite High School. And as we faced angry emails from some of our employees, Connie looked at me and said, this is harder than Granite. And I think in some ways it was, but I have to say thank you to GEA. And if you would express my thank you to those you have at GEA, Mike. I think GEA has helped us keep level heads, and we haven't always agreed on everything, but I think your leadership has made a difference for Granite District. Appreciate that. And concerning emails, it was interesting that the last two emails, a teacher accused me of not caring about teachers. And I just want to say that that isn't true. And I love teachers and have been one, and will always care about teachers. I want to say, for all of you who have talked me off the edge, Ben, Assistant Doug, Martin, it's like when I get an email that upset me, I could call somebody and get some help. Martin, thank you. I have to say, as Nicole and I were walking out last time, she made a comment, so this isn't original, but we have admired the way you and your administration have handled COVID. And I think that has made a difference for Granite School District. And I appreciate that. I appreciate your friendship. Todd, this is our swan song, but I want to say I have learned things from you, and I appreciate that. Terry, I will forever see you knocking on the window of the van.
Kansas City.
Kansas City, trying to find a restaurant, and the lady thought he was, I guess, a car thief or something, and she drove away as fast as she could. But Terry, your humor and your leadership is what I will remember. I think with the whole Connie A and Connie B thing that we've been doing, that all of you will understand. I feel like Connie Burgess is a sister. That's the best I can. And thank you. Karen, I appreciate your leadership. I think this is something that you have blossomed. And I think because of your strong leadership, we have blossomed as a board. And I have probably told Martin this 3 times, but I just want to say that Nicole's smarter than me. And I come to these meetings thinking I know so much, and she's researched and read and can read data and handles her phone much better than I do. But I'm going to miss that. Chris,
I haven't known you as long, but what I've noticed about Chris is she is probably not the shrinking violet that I was when I first started. It was very intimidating, and feels like you just hit the ground running. And I have my old Granite District clothes in the car if you're interested. Just thank you to everybody. I would like to mention that I have a friend that teaches. She's the library STS at Wasatch, and I went up to visit her, and I am always amazed at how kind schools are when I go visit. But John Anderson invited me into his office. I did get to see Renee too. And they were gearing up for their college application week. And the kids have to fill out a college application to Hogwarts. I think, all of these kinds of wonderful, innovative things that are done throughout the district to help get kids to college are amazing. And I was a little bit nervous because my friend Teresa was going from one faculty to a brand new faculty. And I said, are they treating you okay? And she said, Connie, they're wonderful. She said, they are so kind to me and so supportive. And she helps them and they help her. And I thought, that's how it needs to be for every teacher, that the people they teach around are loving and kind. So I'm also excited for those who are new that are coming on. And I think even though I'm going to miss a lot of it, that you guys are going to be great. Oh, thank you.
I have to say that serving on the board has been very rewarding for me. We've been together on so many things. On a few things we haven't agreed, but that has never caused me to not be able to look at you and say that I appreciate our association, because I do. The world doesn't run on one person's opinion. And I appreciate your patience with my opinions and some of my ways. But I appreciate it because I think we've been able to accomplish some very good things. I'm very proud of how this board has funded the Capitol moving forward with the rebuilding. Those were really hard decisions and big ones. And I was so appreciative that when we came to the time of that bonding, that we're all together on that and that we went for it, because I hope that that serves the district for many, many decades. I think that will be a high point, at least for me looking back, being able to launch that program. But to each of you, I want to say thank you for your kindness and for your friendship. And I would be remiss if I didn't express that same appreciation to Sarah Meyer and to Gayleen Gandy and to Carrie Johnson. They made great contributions to this board, and I look forward to the contributions that are going to be made by Julie Jackson and Clark Nelson. I'm confident that those precincts are going to be in excellent hands. And to Martin and to your associates, Don and John and Leslie and Rick and Ben and Doug and those that we worked with, and Stacy and Kathy before you. And I would also want to remember Linda Mariotti. So many great people with such a passion for education and for students and for loving the students and the teachers and the staff and the administrators. I just think it's been a great thing for me. So personally, I thank you. I thank you for this privilege. I thank the people who elected me for this privilege and this trust, and I treated it as such. And I wish the very best for our district. Above all, I would just like to go on record as saying that I believe in our students. I love the students. They're our future. I love the teachers who love the students, who work so tirelessly. I love the staff. I love the administrators. I just think that as a whole, this is a group of fine people doing their best. None of us are perfect. Mistakes are made, have been made, are made, and will be made. But I've never met a teacher or a principal that I thought wasn't trying and wasn't caring, because they wouldn't be in this industry if they didn't. So thank you for this privilege, and I look forward to hearing great things that Granite School District keeps doing. I'm grateful for the blessing that it's been to me personally to go to Granite School District. My wife and our 7 children have all attended Granite School District schools, and I just say thank you.
Thank you, Todd and Connie, and for other board members for sharing their feelings. And hopefully you guys, what you see is a 7-member board conducting board business in an open meeting. What you don't see is a lot of collaboration, phone calls, talking outside of board meetings in charge of that. So we do have a deep friendship for each other here. Thank you again for your many, many years of service, the hard votes you've had to cast, and for your absolute passion for kids and teachers. I sincerely, from the entire board, we thank you. I'd be remiss. This is our last meeting before the holidays hit. So I want to take the opportunity to wish all of our faculty and staff far and wide, wherever you serve, in whatever position you serve in, a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever holiday you celebrate. I am so grateful that with the calendar this year, there is a full 2-week break with weekends on both sides of that. If there were ever a year that we needed a full 2-week break for winter recess, it is this year. And so I am truly grateful. Even though we approved the calendar 2 to 3 years in advance, there is just, it landed really well. And so we hope that you can go home during that winter recess, recharge, rejuvenate, enjoy some downtime, and be ready to come back in January. So with that, and just thanks teachers again and administrators for working so hard. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Good night.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thank you.